Hi, everybody. My name is Laura Werts, and I am with Cincinnati Children's Hospital Medical Center, and I am here with my colleague, Andrea. This is a little different for us because we're kind of used to being able to do live chats and see people, but we have Ritesh on the back end who is helping us. And we are going to take questions as we go along. So if you put them in the Q&A, Ritesh is going to copy them to us in real time. So please feel free to go ahead. If any questions come up while we're doing the presentation, then we're going to try to answer them in real time. We are also going to, a lot of what we're doing, we want this to be as practical as possible. So we are actually just going to do real-time sharing of how we do various kinds of program analysis using AI. We specifically use ChatGPT for this. We do use other AI platforms for other things. So we use Perplexity quite often, and we've started to look at Clee. But right now, chat is primarily what we use for analysis. The other disclaimer I want to make is that that AI is not magic. So if you do not have good data going into it, your analysis is not going to be great on the back end. It can only analyze what you give it. So we do encourage you to spend a lot of time thinking about the data that you're putting in. If you're creating surveys, think about what survey you want to do. We're going to get to some frameworks in a little bit. Think about the frameworks that you're going to use to make sure what you're putting into AI is going to give you what you want out of it. We're going to show you examples of a lot of prompts that we have developed. We are going to upload those onto the system afterwards in a PowerPoint presentation. However, we also, I think Ritesh put in the chat, a jot form that we created. If you would like for those to be sent to you directly, just go ahead and give us your name and email address on the jot form, and we will send that to you directly. I think that was everything in the beginning. So Andrea is actually going to start, and we are using a paid version of chat. We found that that's better for analysis. We do a lot of uploads of documents. Perplexity, we use the free version. We haven't really used that for data analysis much, but we use it a lot for mitigation. So, and we could talk afterwards about that with anybody who wants to, but we use Perplexity a lot for mitigation.
So I'm going to start by doing some basic, seems like a very simple word to use, but some general things that we've done with some data in graphing it. Once that we've already have some of it analyzed. So first I have, can you make me a graph with this chart? I will also, my disclaimer is Laura and I prompt very differently. Laura gives very detailed prompts. Mine are generally just a question like, can you make me a graph with this? And then I tell it more as I see what it does. But you'll see some that Laura is clearly influenced because they're more detailed and I learned my lesson.
And Andrea, do you want to share what this is from, the survey this is from?
Sure. This is from a mental health needs assessment survey we did for mental health education. And we asked, I'll go ahead and upload it so it starts working. And we asked people to rank what was their most important variable when choosing to register for an activity. Okay, so I got that, and I can say, I'd really like to use this color, these colors. And I literally took a screenshot from a report I got out of Jotform where some of my other graphs existed. But I didn't like their graph for this one.
And these align with our Cincinnati Children's colors. I feel like while it's analyzing, we need like
right. And that's good enough. That's close enough. It's better than all blue. I could say, oh, I think you could make those match better. And you can also do things like, can you update the x-axis to say 10 most important, 0 least important? Oh, it didn't do it for me, but at least it's on there. So like you can just play around and say what kinds of things you have. The other thing I did the other day, it gives bar charts first. I didn't like the bar chart, and I said, show me what other charts I can do with this data. And I ended up using a violin chart. And it wasn't this exact thing, but like this is I'm going to put on this slide. This is the chart it made me with a violin chart with similar colors, obviously. Same data, jot form colors. So the next thing, sometimes when you get your data, it's not in the way that you want it. And this is the same survey. I'll show you the table. I only pasted part of this table because the larger amount of data that you upload to chat, the longer it's going to take to
Mhm.
analyze it, which this is a 25-minute session. But the data is all of these responses from one person in one cell. And we know chat isn't always right. And so I wanted to be able to check the data against what it said kind of quickly, like, account if formula in Excel, something like that. So I could say, oh yeah, that seems like a right amount of anxieties. And but it's all in one cell. And I did not know how to do that in Excel. So I said, can you separate the content so each response is in its own row? And I pasted the like first four it was just whatever I grabbed really quickly off the Excel spreadsheet. And I literally just pasted it into chat.
And while we're waiting for it to analyze, one of the questions that came in was about what version we have. So we have a paid version. And our department pays for that. As far as permissions go, we basically just had to let our IS department know that we had it. And we do use some safety features, like we never put anybody's name in it. We don't put our institution's name in it. We try to scrub that data before we put it in.
We clear out emails on reports.
Mhm.
Um, the only time I would ever upload children's stuff is if it's already freely available on the internet. Because I'm using it probably and actually hyperlinking to it. Um, but like it said, yep, I've separated the content. Each thing is in its own individual cell. And so what I did was tell it, and I won't do it because I don't want it to take this long. But I said, great, now do this for the whole document. And I literally uploaded just that column from my spreadsheet. So I saved just the column for the spreadsheet and uploaded it and said, great, do it for the whole document and save it to Excel file I can download. And it separated everything onto one line for me for 550-ish responses.
And I think one of the takeaways from that, which is helpful, is that sometimes if you're a smaller institution and you don't have the funds to, do a really sophisticated evaluation system, this is an easy way where maybe the data doesn't look exactly like you would like it to look to analyze it, but you can use AI to help you get that data in the form that you need.
I also asked, like, if I feel like this is a function I could do in Excel. So in Excel, I want to do text to columns, but the content in the cell is delimited by paragraph. How can I do this? And I've actually asked it twice because I couldn't remember what it said the first time, and it's giving me two different answers. But the thing I learned is this Control J. When you're in text to columns in Excel, if that makes sense, um, instead of you pick other as a delimiter, and in the blank box where you would put something like, I don't know, a bracket, instead of that, you press Control J and it'll put it in the column. And I know that because ChatGPT told me to.
Yep.
And then I've given it some more complex data of multiple rows and telling me, oh, sorry, that's a screenshot from earlier, and asking it to tell me what, here, I'm copying a file over. Attached is data from a survey response. Each row is a different person's response. Can you analyze the data and tell me what the average fee by profession would be for how much would you likely pay to attend? And I only really care if they're likely to attend or absolutely attending. We'll see what they say. And you can tell this prompt has been influenced by Laura because she's right.
You'll see mine. You'll see some of mine get really, really detailed.
It I have more columns in this spreadsheet than I've asked about in my prompt. And it's not my full data set, but it needs to know what I'm talking about. And you have to be specific. And if you do it the way that I prompt, where you prompt a little bit at a time, it will you'll take forever just waiting for it to analyze and then asking one little drip question.
And one of the questions that came in while we're waiting, asking if we have any concerns about putting even de-identified data into a generative AI program. I think anybody can argue for and against it. You're going to find arguments either way. As an institution, as long as it's de-identified, we have been told that it is okay to do that. So I think that's really going to be a question that we're all going to have to come to on our own.
It's having a ChatGPT moment, so I stopped it.
Oh, okay. So, and I'm kind of glad that this showed up just to show you, again, this is not a magic bullet. It's going to have its own problems and its own errors. And sometimes you just have to clean it out and start all over again.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I have a tendency to type out my prompts so I can save them for later. So if I do have to do them over again, I can refer back to them easily.
I also rename my so like social work, clinical counselor topics, that was me, and I can find it quick. Okay, I'm gonna let that analyze. And then the last one is, this one was definitely influenced by Laura, but based on how complicated my theme is, because this one's taking too long to analyze. I don't want to take all its time. The other thing about it is, on this next prompt, I found it really highlights on this prompt, ChatGPT never answers you the same way twice because it's generating in real time every time you ask. Even if you ask the same question with the same data, you are not going to get the same exact response. And so sometimes it's worth asking 2 or 3 times or tell me in a different way to see what kind of answers you'll get. But this is, please, I have some open-ended response questions, and I have, what challenges do you encounter most frequently? And I want it to put it in a format of the 10 most mentioned themes. The format should be theme mentions. I want it to have specific quotes. I put in a character limit. I even told it the column is this. And I'm not going to upload the whole document. I'm just going to put some of this in here.
I think that's a hint to take away. It's very helpful to be able to tell it what each row or column represents. And if you have any titles of those, if you give it that, it increases the ability for it to understand what you want and decreases the chance for error. Oh, it did one of the response to things.
Which one do we like better, Laura?
I like the layout of 2.
Yep.
I'm big on the bullets.
I prefer this response. And sometimes when I ran it, it would just say resource. And in my prompt, I'd say, I really think you could expand the themes a little bit better. Those seem a little curt. And that's what it did. So that is the end of my demo, Laura,
Oh,
if you want to
okay.
take over.
And then we're going to
Are there any
move.
questions about it while you're taking over?
Yeah, that's a good idea. And I'm
Nope.
gonna move over to how we have used it for our programmatic analysis. Sorry, I need to get rid of the screen, the chat screen. I'm gonna stop share just for a minute and then come back. Okay. So, we are jointly accredited. And I'm going to skip around because I just want to make sure, Andrea, that we have time to go through some of this stuff.
Mhm.
So we have open-ended questions that we ask as part of almost every activity that we do, asking about how this, what kind of change you made in, how often you're going to change. Well, as a framework to analyze those, we decided to use the 4 team-based competencies that are part of joint accreditation. So what I'm going to do, so basically our level 3 is basically like follow-up surveys that we do for people 3 to 6 months after a presentation. So we have those open-ended questions, and we did that for anything that happened. I think this is our 2022 data. So I'm saving that to chat. And then this is the prompt I did. And again, you'll have access to this afterward. But if you'll notice here, the detail that I did from it, I provided the definition of what was meant by those 4 things. I didn't want it to decide what values and ethics were. I wanted to say how values and ethics was defined. Same thing for roles and responsibilities, yada, yada. I wanted each summary to include 2 direct quotes, and I wanted to say how many comments are included in each theme, give it a rationale for why it included it, and provide those 2 sample comments. Because what we found in using this is that sometimes it will group something and you don't understand why it's doing it. So by asking it that question, I can see either what its logic was or where I went wrong in giving it the prompt.
I've disagreed with it before and said,
Mhm.
I disagree with you lumping these 2 in this category. Oh,
Yeah,
I see why. I'll
yeah.
redo that.
So now this will take a minute to analyze. One other thing to think about when you're uploading anything, particularly from an Excel spreadsheet, is to only upload enough data to get you what you want. So a lot of us are familiar with our PARS or our JA PARS reports, where you end up with like 50 rows of data. If you want to do a comparison of 2 columns, only upload those 2 columns. Don't do the whole thing because it's going to give it extra work to do. Again, it's going to go slower and there's going to be a lot more chance for error. So if you look here, it tells us what our comments were, how many comments it says. And I would actually think that this is a little bit low for our 22 data. So I would actually probably go in and look at it just to make sure. But it's a good way to start. And I think that's another point, that even though this is a fantastic tool to use and we have been able to do things that we've never been able to do before because of it, you can't get rid of your common sense. You still have to have a human element to look at this and say, does this seem to make sense with what I'm seeing? Now I know we've only got 5 minutes left, so I'm going to show you one of the newer things that we're working on. So basically, we had all our 2023 data, and we wanted to create an infographic from it. So one of our other team members, she was actually working on that, and what she did is she put in just numbers that we have come up with, some of our impact statements, some of our demographics. And she was kind of like Andrea, that she did a more simple prompt because this is new for us, so we didn't actually know what we were doing. So she basically just said, I would like to use this information to create an infographic. What do you think I should do? Get rid of that bullet.
I was so inspired by Christy's work that I took one of my graphs from my mental health jot form things and said, I'm working on an infographic. Here's a graph. Show me some ways that I could make this more interesting in an infographic.
So this, what it gave her is it gave her suggestions of how she might want to lay things out.
Mm-hmm.
And then what she did, and the thing in the chat, Andrea, is that an actual question or is that
It's
from
how will we get
British?
access afterward? And I have a QR code pulled up.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay. And so what she did is she took it and she did a first stab at an infographic. And then she put that in there. And then again, just did a simple prompt of, thank you for the help. Look at what I made and give me some suggestions. Is it analyzing? Oh yeah, there it goes. And I will tell you, I do like that as a rule, it's very it's
Polite.
very positive, and
Mm-hmm.
will say, this looks visually appealing. Here are some ways you can improve it. Like it's never just constructive. I have seen there's a little I think there's a trend going around asking ChatGPT to roast you. It doesn't roast as a as a first comment, first feedback. So I actually have, so she took this, and I actually know that she sent me an email today where we have a final version in there. And this, it saves so much work, and it's a great way to analyze your program data and really kind of thinking through what questions are that you wanted to answer, and really thinking about the framework. What is it that you're trying to do? And I think, Ritesh, are we about at our end of time?
We have about 2 minutes.
Okay. Are there any other questions or anything else that anyone would want to see? Andrew, I saw another question. Any other questions come in?
For the actual infographic, where was that created? I believe she made that in PowerPoint.
Correct. She did. Yeah. And then she saved it as a JPEG file. It is easier to upload JPEG files than it is PowerPoint slides.
The next question is, can you use ChatGPT to actually generate the infographic? And I played around with that a little yesterday.
I tried it, and I would say that's Chat's weakest point. It is not a great visual.
It was not visually
visual
appealing.
platform.
It
Yeah.
gave me something. And I actually
Yeah.
tried it in a couple other formats, and they all gave me something. And I actually saved them in a PowerPoint so that I can refer back to them, but they're not going to be what I use.
It's much better at doing individual graphs than it is actually getting a whole bunch of data and saying make an infographic. It's pretty good at coming up with individual graphs from specific number sets, but not so great at that totality.
Laura, I'm going to take over your screen and you can keep talking.
Okay.
But oh, actually, it says you have to stop sharing.
Oh, okay. Done.
So that I can show, if you want to get our slides, it will be posted on the Cvent platform, but you could also, we have a little jot form that you could put your name and email, and we will email it directly to you. So this is the jot form, and this is the QR code to the jot form. So you can choose your, I want to make it tiny. Well, There we go.
Oh, cool. And Ritesh said that he posted the link in the forum
Okay,
in the
then I
chat.
won't show the link.
So, oh, actually, it's not complexity, it's perplexity at the start and the pros and cons of using it over ChatGPT. Perplexity, honestly, I'm using Perplexity a lot in place of Google because if you want references, if you're looking for reference docs, I find it a great, great platform to use. I don't think it's quite as good as Chat with the analyzing and like wordsmithing kind of use of AI. I find Chat better than that for Perplexity. But actually, we have a small subgroup that's actually working on testing different platforms and kind of using pros and cons just for our own education, for our own team.
I think chat hallucinates links more.
It does.
And that's why like Perplexity, it has, like she said, the source, but it literally links to it.
Yeah.
And so you can see exactly what it's asking you to do, or if you're asking for, it's not related to this, but I have a friend who asked for links to free educational content for her kindergarten class based on the curriculum, and it Perplexity gives you actual links, and chat made them up.
So it is time to wrap up. When you get the PowerPoint presentation, it does have both Andrea and my email addresses. So if you have any questions, feel free. We're still learning and we're happy to share our learnings as we go along. So thank you very much for your time, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.